Hey guys, Cameron here. So today what I'm going to discuss are 5 things in regards to the economic injury disaster loan / grant. So number 1, first and foremost, I want to clear up some confusion in regards to how to apply for the EIDL. How does it work right now? It ran out of funds, it's being re-injected. Okay, how's that all working? As some of you may know, there was a bill passed to go ahead and re-inject both the payroll protection program and the economic injury disaster loan this past week. Well, on Monday, April 27th at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time, the payroll protection program began taking applications again. A lot of us, including myself, assumed that the SBA would probably throw up a link for the economic injury disaster loan application as well. Well, I do not see a link up at the moment. By the time I post this video, there might be one up. Feel free to go check. You can go to SBA.gov to check that out. I'm sure I'll include a link below. But at the moment, there is not an application link up. And so you may be asking yourself, well, it showed on the bill, which I've also included a link to down below from congress.gov. That you can go read. It shows that the economic injury disaster loan was re-injected with funds. There's not another way to apply for it at the moment that I'm aware of. I would think that there will be one up in the future. So when everybody first heard about the economic injury disaster loan, they were losing their minds, right? Because it was all the news was hey, $10,000, and if you don't apply for it, funds are limited, and you're going to be screwed out of that. So everybody was losing their minds, and they were all going to apply over the weekend. I think originally I went and checked out the SBA website after hearing about it, and I went to go see economic injury disaster loan, how do you apply? And it was a big headache. You had to turn in 6 different types of documents, it seemed like, and there may have been more or less, but I mean, it was very, very burdensome to apply the first time. So a lot of those people applied. And then the next day, I believe it was on Monday morning, I don't remember exactly what day, but it was Monday morning, a streamlined version of that application popped up specifically in relation to the coronavirus, right? So everybody went ahead and said, oh, okay, I need to go ahead and apply here. And it was immensely easier than the past process. But something I want to point out about this one particular point in regards to the first thing you need to know is I received an email Monday evening, and I don't know that a lot of people are aware of this because I was just working with a client that wasn't. But at the bottom of the email, to paraphrase, and I'll see if I can find a picture to put it up right here, it indicated or implied to me that if you had applied over the weekend, it really was null and void almost, and that you needed to reapply via the streamlined application process. So if you have not received funding from the economic injury disaster loan and you applied prior even to that new streamlined application popping up, I would like you to look into that. That may be the source of your issue. And so anyway, not to discourage you, but you may need to reapply again, not sure. So if you can get in touch with somebody at the SBA, I would run that by them. I'd give them a call. Now, in regards to the new application popping up, again, not really sure when that's going to happen, but I'm also going to talk about what's happening with those funds here in a second in one of my next points. So the second thing I wanted to talk about is there's been a lot of misinformation floating around saying, hey, you're going to get $10,000. You can get your $10,000 grant if you own a business. Yes and no. So the $10,000 grant is predicated on the basis of the number of employees that you have. So it is supposed to be, at least at this moment, $1,000 per employee. So let's say, for instance, that you own a bookstore and you have 10 full-time employees, hypothetically speaking. So if you had applied for the economic injury disaster loan and you were to receive funding, like your application was accepted and they were to give you a grant, you could be eligible potentially for the full $10,000. But if you only had 5 full-time employees, you may only get $5,000, if that makes sense. Now, that is truly a grant. It's not a loan. As long as you spend it on the appropriate expenses listed in the criteria of the economic injury disaster loan, which I'd go to the SBA website for clarification on that and also speak to your accountant, then you should be good. But again, I would always advise that you seek out professional advice in both the tax world in regards to speaking to a CPA or an accountant and your lender. I would always advise that you seek legal counsel, professional counsel before moving forward with anything like that. But anyway, I just wanted to discuss what that was predicated upon and the criteria for how you would get the full $10,000 grant. So the third thing I wanted to discuss in regards to the grant money that's being distributed. So this comes back to what we just talked about a second ago, which was the re-injection of the EIDL. At this moment, based off of a client's experience that I'm working with, he just received his economic injury disaster loan for the full $10,000 grant. Okay. Now, I haven't heard of everybody receiving funds, but I do know that he had applied earlier on and he did not get this money until after funding ran out the first time. So that tells me, based off context, it appears that the SBA is working through past applications. Now, can I guarantee that? No, but that just, I don't know how else he would have received the funding. He hasn't been able to reapply, obviously, since then. So it looks like his previous application was accepted and he was funded. Another thing that I think is very strange about how the SBA is injecting funding into people's accounts, from what I know, I have not heard of a soul that's been funded that has been contacted by the SBA at all. They just wake up in the middle of the night, get a ding on their phone, they're like, oh, I've got $1,000 to $10,000 put in my account, says SBA beside it. So if you feel that you have not received the money yet, make sure that you're watching your business accounts or whatever account that you linked up to your original application and go back and check them to make sure you didn't receive those funds and just aren't aware of it. So that would be something that I would keep in mind at the moment as well. The next thing I want to discuss is how to spend that grant money and really the loan money, but more specifically the grant money. So there is a criteria for that. And the one thing that I would encourage you to not spend it on if you've applied for the payroll protection program is indeed payroll. You can use it for payroll, but the general consensus amongst lenders and accountants that I've spoken with at the moment, and again, go seek out professional advice, not just from me before moving forward, but from your accountant or CPA or lender. But the general consensus seems to be that if you use EIDL money for payroll and you do not use at least 75% of that payroll protection money on payroll, parts of that loan may not be forgivable any longer. So just make sure that you're using both of those things in their proper channels in terms of expenses, and make sure to document absolutely everything all the time. I mentioned this in another video in regards to the payroll protection program, but with the EIDL money, both the grant and the loan, make sure to document. Make sure that you have an Excel spreadsheet that it keeps a running list of the thing you spent it on and how much you spent it on, as well as electronic copies of bank statements for how you spent that money from the EIDL on what did you spend it on. If you can get a paper trail, that's even better. And some of you may say you're being way overcautious with this, but I am under the impression, especially with how vague the rules are right now, that you can't be too cautious with federal dollars, especially if they're deemed forgivable or free, right? So I would just keep that in mind as well. The fifth thing that I wanted to discuss is really a question that I've been getting a lot lately, especially with businesses that are running out of capital from the payroll protection program or the EIDL grant, is where is my EIDL loan, right? So the last time I checked the criteria, I believe it was a loan of up to about $2 million that you could get. And it was at a 3.5% interest rate for for-profit businesses. I know it's less for nonprofits. And I believe at this time, which this may have changed as well, I heard a rumor the other day that it may have, that you could get a loan for up to $25,000 without having to have any collateral in place as well. Now, I heard from someone that they may have raised that. I have not been able to verify that yet. So I would keep that in mind as well. And that's a great question. So at this moment in time, I've heard of nobody getting contacted in regards to being approved to go and get that money for the loan. My perception of how people are going to be distributed those loans based off of how everything else is running is, I think an SBA rep will probably reach out to you about the loan and approve you in regards to being able to get the funding. And I would think at that point they would move you over to your lender in order to go ahead and secure that loan. Now, can I say that definitively? No, but that just seems to be the way that this will probably work based off of how the payroll protection program is running at the moment. Anyway, I hope that those 5 things were helpful to you. I know that's not all the information in the world in regards to the economic injury disaster loan, but I just wanted to throw out some helpful information and some tips and tricks in regards to where's that money at? Why have I not gotten it? How do I apply it? There's a lot more information in regards to this that people need to know. Some I do know, some things I don't know. We are learning by the day, and I'm sure you're hearing that a lot from either your accountants you've spoken with or lenders, but things have been changing every day. If you do have a question though, and I do know the answer to it, I'll be happy to answer it. You can just throw a question in the comments section. I'll be happy to help. And if I don't know the answer, I can probably get you a resource that will at least help shed some light on it. But there have even been some questions that I will go and I'll talk to a CPA or lender and they'll say, I don't know. And honestly, that's a pretty fair answer given the current landscape. But anyway, I hope this video was helpful to you guys. This channel is really going to revolve more around real estate and real estate investing. But as I may have mentioned in the beginning of the video, I'm a licensed realtor and a small business coach. And honestly, I just wanted to provide this information because there are a bunch of small mom and pop shops or really smaller businesses that I'm shocked that do not know really anything about the stimulus aid yet. They're just very confused and frustrated and haven't seemed to be able to get any help or answers on things. So when in doubt, I would encourage that you go speak to an accountant or speak to a lender. And really to make things very succinct, generally speaking, you'll apply for the EIDL through the SBA website and the payroll protection program. You just need to go speak to your lender about applying for that. Anyway, you guys have a great day, and thanks for stopping by.